Okay, welcome to Math 52. In our first class, we've done some welcome stuff, and now we're doing a quick tour of the website. On the top, there's a blue bar with a margin that has places to go. The welcome brings you back to this page. The Zoom room opens the Zoom room that we are all in. So you can keep using the emails or just click right here at the top of the website. Jamboard, when you click on it, opens up our blank whiteboard. So I'm going to start writing on this as soon as we actually get to math. And I'm going to share it with anyone that needs it. It should be public on the web that you can just join it and write stuff on the whiteboard also and contribute to class as we go. But if you're having trouble, then there we go. If you have a Chromebook, I am aware that it's kind of awkward to jump back and forth between a web browser window and the Zoom me sharing my screen window. Chromebooks are not good at that. Maybe you're a Chromebook expert and have figured it out, but a lot of students have trouble with that. So if that is you, it's usually easier just to watch what's happening as I am lecturing on the shared Zoom screen. But it's nice if you can do both at once to be able to use the arrows up top to go from page to page. So if you want to look at something a little more, you can go back and have it. At the end of each lecture, I am going to go here and make a copy and save what we've done. So you'll always have our whiteboard at the end of class. Then I will just erase all of this so the link at the top stays the new one for next time. When we have office hours, I will also, or study sessions, I will also use the Jamboard when I'm around. Okay, the textbook link, when you click on it, opens our Math 52 textbook. I'll get to that later. But again, these top things tend to be not part of my website. They're just other places to go to. If you haven't downloaded that yet, you can. And why don't I switch over to that. Okay, now are you looking at my textbook?
Yes.
So ta-da, this should look familiar if you have downloaded it and looked at it before. I have a certain PDF viewer that I like that does 2 pages at a time without a lot of garbage in the margins. If you are curious about that, ask me, but as long as you can read the textbook as a PDF, great, good enough. If you don't want to look at it as a PDF, that is fine. You can always go to the LCC bookstore and buy a copy that's usually cheaper than if you try to print it yourself, because printer ink costs money. So if you have to share your computer with lots of people at home, if you live somewhere that the internet is not terribly reliable, if you are using a tablet or a phone instead of a computer and the screen size is an issue, then you can certainly go get a printed copy at the bookstore. But there's no need to spend money. You can just use the PDF. Lectures will bring you to our playlist of lectures if I put them on YouTube. Most terms I do because students seem to like that. Zoom is a little more functional. The Zoom lecture recording that will be made automatically will have a transcription on the side of the screen, and you can search that automated text and say, when is he talking about fractions? When is he talking about formulas? So that's pretty handy to be able to search and jump to things with text. But some people just like subscribing to a YouTube playlist, and when it has a new video, there it is. So it's not that much work for me to add things to YouTube. Then the last one, it says calculator, and that opens up a nice page with a calculator on it. And I will use this because you can watch me, right? If I just try and hold a calculator in my hand, then with my little webcam, you're not going to be able to see it. So this one, you can see everything I type in, and it gets recorded in the recording, so it works much better. And this is enough of a calculator for you. If you don't own a fancy math calculator, then that's fine. This one does good things. If you are taking other math classes, you might care that up at the top where it says math tools, you can have a graphing calculator also. We're not going to use that much this time, but just to know, there it is, it's free. I can put in y equals 4x and things like that, right? So back away, we don't care, but it is there if that helps you in the future. But this is all the calculator we need for now. It has the special functions. It has more things here that we will perhaps use, but not much. Okay, so that's the top bar. Questions about any of those things so far?
Just a quick question. You mentioned the Zoom recordings that have searchable transcripts. Are those going under lectures, or is lectures only that where you're posting things on YouTube?
Lectures can only lead to one place, so the link just does YouTube by default.
So Zoom recordings
here, then there will be the Zoom link for each lecture there.
Thank you.
Okay, next row. So these next row in the pink boxes are all the pages I made rather than going to other places at the top. There's skills topic of 5 different kinds. There's applications topic, and LCC has lots of flavors of classes like this one. Math 20 is a very slow, methodical, let's get your math foundations solid course. And then there's all kinds of other ones that say, let's go through all of Math 20, but more quickly at a more review pace and add in some other things. So Math 25 says, let's do that with some health formulas and finance. Math 52 says, let's do that with some dosages and medical applications and pH. Math 98 does that a different way. Math 105 does that a different way. So these application topics have more than we need because the website does more than Math 52. So you can play around with them, but don't feel like we're going to get through all of these. If you're curious what classes do any of these, I can tell you, but just know that this is more of a library than a syllabus. Then at the end, we have resources, and that's what I want to spend a little more time with while we're all here. The first one opens a essay about being a mather. It's good for morale. If you haven't read that yet, you should. The second one has our classroom library with books. And the reason we have a classroom library is that when most college students hear the phrase math book, they think about something that has, like our Math 52 book, a bunch of small chapters with example problems and homework. But for most people in the adult business world, that's not what a book with math is. You have things like Factfulness and Algorithms to Live By and Freakonomics and A Random Walk Down Wall Street and all these other books that use math, but they never have, here's some sample problems and here is homework for you. Right? This is how people use math in the real world. So if you're curious about any of these books, then if we were meeting in person, they would just be in the classroom. You could borrow them. But since we are meeting remotely, it'll be a little more awkward. I can have you come to my driveway and pick them up. Lots of students do that each term. We can meet at Tugman Park or some other place, and I can hand you a book. But if you want to borrow a book, they are available. It's just more awkward since you're not physically in person with me once a week anyway. So there are optional things we'll do with the books, but that's not officially part of 52. We'll talk about that when we get to syllabus. The resources page is really important. LCC has gazillions of resources, and I try and explain them a little bit more than the LCC website itself does. So if I go to the LCC website itself, then it's gotten better. They used to have no succinct list of all of their student resources. Oh, come on, LCC. Anyway, if you go to the For Students tab, they do eventually give you a list of student resources, but mine is helpful too. Okay, so the syllabus I want to talk about a little bit, but first I want to go back to the welcome page. So the welcome page at the top has just what I mentioned, the skill topics, the applications, and the resources. Gives you an introduction to that. Then we have our schedule for our class. There's another link to the textbook, just in case you missed it, up at the top. And then there are these foldouts, which will eventually have one for each week. But I don't want to try and predict our pace too exactly. In the foldouts, you will see a summary of what we're doing. By the way, I should make this bigger. Is that easier to read?
That's good.
Summary of what we're doing, links to our Jamboard and stuff and lectures once I archive them. If you go to these now, it's just some dummy place from last term. This isn't actually us, of course, because we haven't finished class yet. Then I'm going to describe how the textbook sections fit with my lecture notes. Then we'll have a to-do list, your homework, and then which things I'm actually grading. And at the end, some notes to myself. So each week you can click on the accordion foldout and see exactly what you need to do. Then at the bottom, there's a little bit more about open educational resources, so what you can steal from my website. Okay, now we have a big choice to make. I'm going to go back to sharing the textbook. Okay, can everyone see the textbook?
Yep.
Okay, and actually I'm going to stop the recording and start it again because that was great